welcome to the Hustle Podcast. And I know it's been a couple months, month and a half since we posted our last video, but we're back now. Me, your host, CJ Hester, I will have a special guest joining me a little bit later, but due to the coronavirus, we're stuck in the house for a little bit, so why not start posting videos? And I'm going to dive deep into some NBA teams, what they should do in the offseason, and what they should do when the season kicks back up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this listen, and let's get to it. Special guest, Jacob from Purdue, West Lafayette. All right, border up, Big Ten country. Let's kick off by talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Start out 14th in the West, 16-45. And the midseason trade, probably the biggest one during the season, was D'Angelo Russell for Andrew Wiggins. And I think that's something that Minnesota had to do to keep Karl-Anthony Towns in the future. I think everybody can agree on that. And Karl-Anthony Towns is having a good season. 26 and a half points, 10 rebounds, 1.5 block shots, and all-star. So I think Karl-Anthony Towns get this reputation of being a soft player, but personally, I think Karl-Anthony Towns is one of the top 5 centers in the league. And with D'Angelo Russell only playing 12 games for Minnesota this year, he did average 21 and 6 assists. So, Jacob, on that trade during midseason, what do you think about that, what Minnesota did?
I think it was to keep Karl-Anthony Towns. I think they have the pieces right now to compete to get into the playoffs. But I think they might need 1 or 2 more pieces to actually be a contender for that tough Western Conference. But I also think, like I said, that trade was key to keeping Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yes.
A piece in Minnesota. And D'Angelo Russell, another all-star. He'll do great in Minnesota with Karl-Anthony Towns. That 1-2 punch will give him an extra push to get into the playoffs next season.
And a couple of young guys that have on teams. Culver, that was on that Texas Tech Final Four team, he averaged 9 points during the season. And Naz Reid, who was on that good LSU team, was averaging 9 points and 4 rebounds. I think developing some young talent that they have, and going forward, they have 2 first-round picks and 1 second-round pick. And I think they can build off of that with projection about a top 5 pick in the lottery. And a couple of names I want to throw out that you can get is Anthony Edwards from Georgia, a good shooting guard that can fit in nicely. Does score, doesn't need nobody to create for him. He can create for himself. Somebody that I think can come in averaging 16 points off the bat in the NBA. And with those late second round picks they have, I like Trey Jones from Duke, a solid backup point guard that can be behind D'Angelo Russell, and maybe like who else I got? Lamar Stevens from Purdue, a big forward that can also stretch the floor. So there's a couple of guys I like for them to develop. And I think for Minnesota, I think that after that trade, I think they know they have to develop a couple of guys through the draft. They have to develop these young players to get Minnesota to the next steps. So I don't know if you think they can build through free agency, or do you think they have to go through the draft as well?
I think the location will kind of prevent them from building through free agency. But the first player you said in the draft that you thought they should pick, Anthony Edwards,
yes,
that would be a guy that would fit perfectly
in
Minnesota. Shooting guard, can create for himself, just like D'Angelo Russell. And you have Karl-Anthony Towns doing all the dirty work under the basket. That's a 3-punch combo right there. And you got Jarrett Culver, and then maybe a backup point guard in Trey Jones. That would be perfect for Minnesota. They got to work through the draft.
Yes. Okay, and then as far as free agency, as we said, we don't know if they'd be able to fill their roster with a bunch of high free agents, but a couple of guys I like is maybe like an Evan Turner, a veteran who can play multiple positions on offense and help those young guys grow. And just vets at the end of their careers that can help those young guys grow into players they can be, teach them the ways of the NBA, is the way I like Minnesota taking that direction. What you got? Agree?
I agree. Evan Turner, a guy like that, bring him to Minnesota, have him develop the young guys. Minnesota is a good fit right now for Evan Turner because of the development he will bring to those young guys. Along the line, points. I give them a year or two, and Minnesota will be back in the playoffs.
Yeah, Minnesota though. Let's go straight into Golden State based off that trade they made with Minnesota for Wiggins for D'Angelo Russell. And I think bringing Andrew Wiggins to Golden State, put him in that small forward spot, just like Harrison Barnes did 5 years ago, I think is the perfect fit. With Andrew Wiggins improving his three-point shooting, I think there's a lot less pressure on him to develop and be good. And I think he can exceed in this role for Golden State. So what do you think about that?
Andrew Wiggins, I agree. I believe he had a lot of potential coming out of Kansas. It hasn't really translated to the NBA. I don't think he's in the right spot for it.
Yeah.
I see Andrew Wiggins kind of in like the big show kind of area,
Yep.
star area in Golden State. I think it'll exceed, especially with this roster coming back in full force. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. With those three, I think they're going to be contenders for the NBA Finals.
Okay.
Not just Western Conference. I think they'll be in contention.
So and you said those injuries for Steph and Klay. I think the way just things worked out this year, I think probably the next NBA season won't start till Christmas. So that gives Klay another 2.5 months. So I think Klay would be pretty damn close to 100% coming off that ACL tear. And for a fact, Steph came back and played a game or two, and Steph would be 100%. It just comes down to the Draymond factor. The heart and soul of Golden State for the past 6 years is it. You see a little tension there with him and Steve Kerr sometimes. Him getting technical, it's not the games. Does he really want to be there? Does he want to get better? But it's just depends. Do they keep him or do you try to trade him? Teams are interested in him.
If I'm Golden State, I keep him.
Okay.
I believe he is. If you're an Indiana Pacers fan, you know what I'm saying here. He's the Lance Stevenson of Golden State.
Okay.
Lance Stevenson plays great in Indiana. Elsewhere, he did okay in Los Angeles with the Lakers and LeBron, but I think that's because he had LeBron. But elsewhere, I think Draymond Green is a perfect fit for Golden State. He brings that extra mentality, that tough mentality. He'll do the dirty work. He's 6'6", and he guards centers every position. He can do a lot, and I think it's a perfect fit for Golden State right now.
Another two young guys they have is Eric Pascal from Villanova, who started off amazing the first week and a half of the NBA season. And another guy I like, for your Michigan fans, Jordan Poole. I think those are two guys that will be there for the long term. Guys that can play multiple positions, as Eric Pascal can play a center if you go that small ball lineup, but can also play the three because he can shoot. Jordan Poole throughout the season were very inconsistent, but you've seen flashes of him being an elite three-point shooter, shot maker in the NBA. So for them, I think they're going to have a lottery pick and 2 second-round picks. So, and their lottery pick is most likely to be top 3. So, I think the obvious choice there, if they can get him, is James Wiseman from Memphis.
They get James Wiseman, it's done deal. They're going to make it to the finals, is what I'm saying right now. And then you know how Steve Kerr coaches. He will develop those players, Eric Pascal, Jordan Poole.
Yep.
They might have not reached their full potential, but give it a year, maybe even less, they will be up there because of Steve Kerr.
And just think about those two guys we talked about. Just think of them. Okay, now they play a full season with Steph and Klay. That's less pressure. Nobody's going to focus on them. Those are open shots so the guys will hit.
Exactly.
And I think once they hit free agency, they're not going to have a lot of cap space. So they probably have the mid-level exception. They can give somebody about $5.5 million to $6 million with going over the cap. And I think they can use that on maybe one of the Morris twins. Either one. Or I like bringing in Dwight Howard for Golden State.
Either one of those. I think if Golden State especially brought in a big guy like Dwight Howard,
yeah,
I think that'll get them the extra push on those the rebounds. They do stress small ball. They have been successful doing the small ball, but I think a center that can rebound the ball and still score you like 10 points a night or something like that at least would be great.
And I think for now, since the NBA season is postponed or wherever it is right now, Golden State was the only team eliminated from the playoffs so far. So I think we can both agree that that won't be the case next season. They're back in the playoffs and probably a top 5 seed.
Yep, I would give them a 3 seed.
Okay. So next on, now we're back and we're talking about the Atlanta Hawks. 20-47 in the East. I think that was second to last. And I think for a lot of teams, that's not what we thought the Hawks would do this year. I think we thought they'd be fine for a playoff spot, but a big thing was John Collins got suspended the first 25 games of the season. I think that hurt a lot. But for them to be second to last in the East, I think probably the Hawks would go with a coaching change in the offseason. They'd be fine for a playoff spot, but a big thing was John Collins got suspended the first 25 games of the season. I think that hurt a lot. But for them to be second to last in the East, I think probably the Hawks would go with a coaching change in the offseason. Somebody more demanding, somebody with more respect around the league. But as far as this year's players, Trae Young, all-star, 29.6 and averaging 9.3 assists a game is just ridiculous for a second-year player. John Collins, as I talked about, suspended the first 25 games, was played in 41 games this year and was averaging 21 and 10 and 1.6 blocks a game. So I think for the Hawks, I think they have the talent. It's all about development for them. They have DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish. They have young guys on the roster that can be very good. So what do you think the problem is with the Atlanta Hawks? I think it's coaching.
I think it's coaching, and I think it's the coach not being able to develop those young guys. Those young guys they might still have a head of steam on top of them. Because they're just coming out of college, they might have been the best player on their college team, but they don't realize the NBA, how good it is,
Yes.
how good they got to translate their game to the NBA. Coach, I do think they need a new coach. I think they have the talent right now, and I think if they draft another forward, specifically a power forward to back up John Collins, or even a center to play with Clint Capella and give him a two-headed drive in there, I think they'll be fine. They have the talent, clearly. They have Trae Young, who's a star. Kevin Huerter's on the rise. John Collins is there. Clint Capella knows exactly what he's doing. So, and they got Jeff Teague. So, I think they're all set. I think it's just coaching.
Yes, and I think with their draft picks, they'll have a lottery pick and they will have one pick in the second round. So I think with those young guys on the roster, and if they be able to get in the top 5 picks, I think James Wiseman would be the obvious fit if they could get the number 1 spot if the ball is bounced their way. And I think they also can do, and I think the Hawks should do personally, is we talk about teams building through the draft, building through free agency, but at some point in time, sometimes you have to build through trade. So let's say they land a top 3 pick with the balls bouncing their way. I think if they can package that up somehow and maybe offer John Collins and another young guy, I think you try and just see if Phoenix Suns would take it for Devin Booker. I think,
A solid shooting guard like Devin Booker.
and
I agree.
yeah, and I think you offer them everything but Trae Young, and you just go with those two. Because I think if you get a core guys of Trae Young, Devin Booker, and maybe Cam Reddish at the 3, I think you can build off that in free agency. So
You can, even if they drafted another forward or center.
yeah,
Even if they gave up that Clint Capella piece to get Devin Booker.
yeah,
Trae Young and Devin Booker, it'd be like the next Steph Curry.
Exactly.
Klay Thompson.
exactly. So I think that's a big thing they could do there, and I think for a second round pick, guys I love in the second round, guys I think that will probably be second rounders they should be first rounders, but probably be second rounders. If they can trade up and get a Trey Jones, like I talked about from Minnesota, to be a backup point, or a guy I like for the Hawks system is Marcus Howard from Marquette, who lights the scoreboard up and will shoot from anywhere. I think he'd be a great backup to Trae Young as well.
I agree. Marcus Howard's not afraid of anybody.
Yeah.
Purdue played him for 2 years in his college career. He was not afraid to shoot. He was not afraid to play hard. And I think that's exactly what the Atlanta Hawks need.
So another thing is free agency. So let's say they do package that up, Clint Capella, maybe John Collins, and they trade him off to Phoenix, try to get Devin Booker. The Hawks have a lot of cap space. So another guy people are talking about that will opt out of his contract is Andre Drummond. Easy fill. I think I run you rim to rim, athletic center I think would be a perfect fit for Trae Young. Yeah, and
Andre Drummond, if they get rid of Clint Capella in a trade, Andre Drummond is the way to go, definitely. You still have a bunch of loaded free. It's a loaded free agent class again this year, but I do think Andre Drummond is the fit for Trae Young and Devin Booker if they were to make that trade.
And other couple of guys out for the Hawks, kind of veterans, would be bringing back Paul Millsap. He was there for a while. Maybe a Tristan Thompson as a backup center role. And just a couple of veteran guards like Joe Harris and Courtney Lee to help those young guys grow. And guys that can still play and hit corner threes for you.
Yep, and they could even still go get a forward in free agency.
Yep.
Like just a solid guy like Joe Harris from the Nets. He's
Yep.
going to be a free agent this year. Montrezl Harrell, I doubt he leaves the Clippers. Marcus Morris, though, Los Angeles Clippers as well. Just guys like that that'll play solid and get you 15
Yep.
tonight.
So, before we move on from the Hawks, though, we got to talk about a guy that might play his last team NBA game, might not. But this was his last team he played with. Vince Carter. 20-plus years in the NBA. A legend, Hall of Famer. Just had to add Vince Carter in there that last season, Vince was a legend in the NBA. Would go down as a Hall of Fame. Probably the best dunker of all time, I would say. And I think Vince in Toronto changed Toronto a lot for the game. And I respect Vince a lot and Hall of Famer.
Vince Carter, one of the best dunkers.
Yes.
Probably the best dunker I've ever seen. I'm not sure about anybody else. We have Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all those guys. But one of those guys I remember dunking, doing those crazy dunks in the dunk contest. First round pick number 5 out of Daytona Beach, Florida. One of the best players I've seen. He will definitely go in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. Top 5. All right. Players of today's NBA. Let's just assume everybody's 100%. All right, so Jay, go ahead, go first. Start with 5.
This is the hardest question you ever asked, CJ. Well, number 5, believe it or not, I'm going to go with Steph Curry.
Okay.
Honorable mention Luka Doncic, but Steph Curry, one of the most entertaining players the most entertaining player I've ever watched in the NBA. Steph Curry at 5. Number 4, Kevin Durant, when he is healthy, best scorer in the game, best scorer in NBA history, arguably. He can score anywhere. He can score from the parking lot. He can do whatever he wants with the ball. Number 3, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, he can do it all. The dark horse, always. He's always coming out of nowhere. He can stop anybody, stop Giannis. He can stop LeBron James. We've seen him do it, and he could probably win a championship again. I thought he was going to win it this year, but obviously the season came to a stop. Number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
He can do whatever he wants. He's still developing that jump shot, but once he gets that jump shot, he's going to be the best player in the league, no doubt, if he isn't already. And then number 1, LeBron James. He's going to be my number 1. How old is he now? About 35?
Yep, 34, 35, yep.
He's at that age, and he's still got the number 1 team in the Western Conference, or actually the number 1 team in the NBA, in my opinion. Giannis is unstoppable, but LeBron is just a different animal. LeBron's number 1. I did leave out James Harden. I don't think he's there yet. I think I would put him behind Luka at number 7.
Okay.
But that is my top 5.
I like that. And I think we mostly have the same players. And I'm going to start with my number 5. And I do have James Harden at number 5. And James Harden, Steph Curry, Luka, they're all right there. But I'm going to go with James Harden just because James Harden gets a lot of hate, and I really don't know why. I think it's once we look back 20 years from now, we look back and be like, wow, what James Harden did for these 3 to 5 seasons in the NBA was truly amazing scoring-wise. Number 4 might surprise you. I have Giannis at number 4. I have high expectations for Giannis. I just need him to. I need to see him in the playoffs. I need him to make a finals and do something. Number 3, I have Kawhi Leonard. I think Kawhi shows that he can take any team, any city to the NBA Finals and win NBA Finals MVP year in and year out. Number 2, I think healthy 100%, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant will probably in my eyes, would go down as the best scorer I've ever seen with my eyes. 7 foot, can handle the ball, can shoot from 35 plus. It's ridiculous what he can do on a basketball court. And number one is, of course, LeBron James still doing what he's doing at 30 plus years of age is remarkable. What he's doing for the Lakers right now. And I think if the NBA season does eventually kick back up, teams should be scared to play the Lakers. You give LeBron a month and a half layoff to play the playoffs, I don't see him losing. They don't win the finals this year.
I agree. Here's my question. This has been a debate through ESPN, through First Take. Do you think this is LeBron's last year to have a chance to win the finals?
I don't think it's his last year, but you can make an argument that it might be his last year to win the finals as the best player on the team. Because eventually LeBron's going to have to win some finals, not being the number one. Right now, he can handle that load and be the number one. But after this season, especially if we end the season in September and we don't start in December, AD's going to have to be the best player on the team. And a top 5 player in the NBA. So I think no, it's not. I think LeBron still has about 3 years left to win NBA championships. For him to be the best player on the team, though, I think 1 or 2. So
I think I can agree with that.
All right. So that's it for today. Hustler Podcast. Thank you, Jacob from West Lafayette, joining us today. And I will be having different guests on with me throughout the week, throughout the month. So give it a listen while you guys are chilling at home. Thank you.